This season of The Digital Fix is sponsored in part by Uconnect, providing true transparency for brands and agencies in the biddable media space. Visit them today at uconnect.com.
You're listening to The Digital Fix, digital marketing done right. This season is presented by Mio Marketplace. Mio, the marketer's matchmaker. If you're a brand marketer or an agency, media, or platform that works with them, Mio is a marketplace built just for you. Visit them at miomarketplace.com. And by Moy & Halter, a strategic consultancy. If you're struggling with getting your creative and content to efficiently work with your media strategy, we help solve for that. Reach out for a free consultation today at moyandhalter.com. And now, here's your hosts for The Digital Fix, Sean Halter and Stephen Moy.
You are listening to The Digital Fix, the podcast for all things digital marketing, presented by Mio Marketplace. At Mio, we love to do the heavy lifting, and of course, we turn marketing insights and outreach into action. Visit them today at miomarketplace.com. As a reminder, The Digital Fix is hosted by myself and Stephen Moy, both of us with Moy & Halter, a consultancy looking to help bridge the AI gap between media and creative. Our guests today are Lauren Weinberg, former CMO over at Peloton Interactive and current board advisor at Adora, and Manuel Sanchez Palacios, director of growth and AI at Bald. How did I do, guys? Did I get it close? Manuel, how did I do on the pronunciation?
You did great.
Okay, I'm small flowers. And Lauren, thank you again so much. We know you've got some news coming. We won't make you spill it today, but it'll be nice to kind of get some insights from you as we lead it down the path. Speaking of things and new years and new beginnings, our first question is almost always digital done right. We're going to ask you guys each to name another marketer or brand that you think is getting digital right these days and why. Ladies first, Lauren, tell us who you think.
There's two things that come to mind for me, and this one you probably hear a lot, but I will continue to say that I think Duolingo does an amazing job on social, continues to show up in culturally relevant moments in fun and unexpected ways that translate really nicely, I think, into their product experience. So I will say, I think Duolingo's social media strategy is the envy of many marketing teams, so they're doing a great job. And the other campaign that was a highlight for me last year was what Vaseline did with their Verified campaign. I thought that was super interesting and something that a lot of people think about. Is this a good use case? And I love that they took a really crisp consumer insight and turned it into a really strategic campaign.
You talk about social for just a sec there. I'm only going to interject before I ask you the same question, Manuel, which is, I love Duolingo. I'm really interested in that brand. It speaks to me as kind of, I don't want to say as an older consumer. It was interesting late last year. They were doing some testing with agentic AI and some agentic creative in the social space. I didn't see it as much on my side, but I do know that my daughter, who is 22, was like, oh, they're using AI. Like, we're not crazy about that now. So it is interesting, especially as we think of this digital space. Where is AI going to play a role? How does a great brand like Duolingo that just speaks to me all the time, it's fun, it feels clever and creative, how do they also somehow balance threading that little needle with a different generational gap that may in some ways be anti lots of things, including the use of AI and creative? It'll be interesting to watch from there. If you want to add something to it, Lauren, you're certainly welcome to.
I mean, I would just say that I think all brands are going to experiment with AI and they're not going to get it right all of the time. And so they're just going to keep going. I think Coca-Cola has been really doubling down on their AI strategy. They get a lot of negative feedback and they continue to go back and iterate and make it better. And so I think there will be a lot of that. I think that's going to be the way of the future. People experimenting, testing, learning, seeing what works and what doesn't work.
I mean, there's a generational thing that I think any of us, when you're that age, you probably feel like I'm against this and I'm against that. My daughter forever didn't want to learn how to code as a designer. And I'm talking to her the other day and she's like, oh, I'm coding now. I was like, see, I told you. Man, well, same question. Tell us from your perspective, who's doing digital right these days?
Yeah, there's one person online that's doing a great job, Ashwin Krishnaswamy. He's the founder of the design agency Forge, and he's a social media savant. He does a great job talking brand and brand strategy, and his agency was actually responsible for the Zohran campaign for when he was campaigning for mayor of New York City. So he built this agency mostly through his personal brand and another business venture where he was building digital first brands, but really focusing on community. And this really proved to be a lot of success for him because he understands his audiences first, builds brand equity based on his own authority, his personal brand, and then builds the product off of that. On the company side, like a company that certainly has proved a lot of success last year was CeraVe with the Michael Cera
Oh,
CeraVe
yeah,
campaign.
yeah.
I think that's a perfect use and perfect leverage of community discourse happening. Like just it
Yeah.
basically the root of it was from a meme. Like, oh, Michael Cera uses CeraVe, and then it exploded into this hyper viral campaign.
It is fascinating to watch any of that viral stuff. There's a girl that was on my TikTok. This was like kind of just over the holidays, and she made this quick little Dr. Pepper kind of theme song thing. She just kind of sang it out. Everybody shared. It was just cute and clever. And dang if they didn't pick it up. Everybody in the comments was like, you better bring her that bag, Dr. Pepper. And it was a little quiet out there. And they just debuted a commercial with her with that theme song during one of the NFL games this past weekend. And that's just so insane to me. And even just that speed at which some of that decisioning can kind of take place. It is what it
Yeah.
is.
There's a concept tied to that. It's called brand velocity. So how quickly can you
Wow.
use and leverage your community conversations happening either around a product or a person or a brand, and then acting very quickly to use that as part of your messaging, as a tagline for whatever you're trying to market.
And I'm going to let Stephen ask the next question, but I want to ask just one final follow back up with Lauren, just based on what you said, Manuel, which is it's brand velocity and how quickly can people act. So sitting in the seats that you've sat in a little bit, Lauren, in that kind of CMO spot, whether it was at Peloton or some of the other stops along the way, that is kind of the future, isn't it? Isn't it predictive modeling so that you can take a viral moment on TikTok and within 2-3 weeks turn that into an NFL scale spot?
I think it's also about agility. A lot of times we're asking our teams to work even faster than that 2 to 3 week period of time because these cultural moments come and go so quickly and you have to be able to react really quickly to them. So I agree, it's the way of the future. It requires a lot of agility. It requires people who are really on top of what's happening in those moments of culture, and I would say knowing which ones are the right ones for your brand so that you're not jumping on everything, exhausting your team, and doing things that don't feel authentic to your brand and who you are.
As a long time, creative and also digital agency guy, and I work with a lot of CMOs, CDOs, and now more in CTO, CIO, even CMOs. With AI, you have to touch on it. We already started the conversation. A lot of brands will be experimenting. Where you see actually true opportunities, right? Coming out of CES and NRF, the last 2 weeks already, people predict, oh, we're not ready for prime time. And then you see the whole holding company, oh, wow, AI got to improve the output and also reducing unfortunately, a lot of jobs. And I want to start with Lauren. Like what CMO to CMO, how are you going to recommend where are the real opportunities for 2026?
I've been spending a lot of time, as Sean alluded to, I've been on what I would call a power pause over the last couple months. And the area that I've been spending the most time just making sure that I'm learning and experimenting with is with AI. There's so much opportunity. I've been playing around with all of the different tools. And so, I think it's really part of the CMO's responsibility to make sure their teams are getting trained on a lot of different tools and also giving some guardrails around when to use AI for different tasks within the marketing workflows. And so I think, there's a lot of debate. It's not ready for prime time. I don't agree with that. I think it is. I think that it's just that there's a lot of use cases, there's a lot of tools, and what we need right now are marketers that know how to discern what's good, what's not good, when to use the tools for specific tasks, and also what are the just no AI zones, the things that you absolutely need humans to do still. But I would say it's not that AI isn't ready for prime time. It's AI without human interaction, in my opinion, that's not ready for prime time. But AI coupled with humans being in the loop, humans being educated on how to use the tools, I think we're ready for that. And it just makes the ability to scale and create velocity so much greater for marketers. So where you've been so constrained in the past, I don't see it as a do more with less. I see it more as a do more and be able to learn faster by just having more variations in the market.
At the end of the day, it's a traditional bell curve, right? the young kids always flock to the new social, and then eventually, adoption happens, and then those of us that have been a little long in the tooth, have been doing some of this for a little while, finally kind of lean in and figure it out, and we bring something different to that because we also have some mass and some scale. Steven's been talking to me about AI since we did the last season of this last year, and he's brilliant at it. He can sit in a room and explain something to somebody, and I go, oh yeah, that kind of makes sense. But still in my head, even up until maybe November or December, I was like, it kind of makes sense, but like, I kind of get it, but I kind of don't.
Yes, right. We see a lot of physical AI innovation, a lot of robotic, autonomous car, right? And then also you see the software, AI innovation catching up. But in reality, right, what is applicable to marketing? Like I love what Lauren just talked about, like a lot of efficiency, a lot of automation can do. So using this, expanding that question for Manuel, like what's your take, right? What's real opportunity for? Because I guarantee you, after this call, when I join another call with my client, everybody asking me, is it just AEO,
Yeah.
being discoverable
Yeah.
in
Yeah,
the new world, right?
that's certainly one element of it. AEO and, interchangeable terms, GEO, generative engine optimization, are certainly at the forefront of what brands are trying to achieve, is this discoverability on LLM-based search. But and also, just to bring in some experience, I recently judged the DigiDay AI Awards, and all these tools, all these new AI experiences are really focused around the idea of efficiency. And I think that's, it's an obvious choice when you have a new tool like AI. You immediately go that route because you understand that as an assistant, it can analyze data quickly, it can do it fairly accurately, and it does the job of maybe a junior employee. But I think that is boring. I think certainly like the better approach in using AI as a brand or a company is leveraging the people that have taste as a branding person or as a creative. A really good example of this was one of my favorite AI-based campaigns, contrary to what I think about the McDonald's and Coca-Cola Christmas campaigns, is the Heinz AI campaign. I don't know if you saw this one. They did an AI-based campaign called Draw Ketchup, and this really leveraged this idea of brand equity, discoverability in the age of AI. So they basically built this entire commercial saying, okay, using DALL-E 2, I believe, and then also Sora, they prompted draw ketchup. And I want maybe some of you to try this, and you'll see that what appears looks exactly like a Heinz bottle. This proves not only the brand equity that Heinz has, but it proves that AI thinks ketchup looks like a Heinz bottle. They obviously asked for different variations in the campaign, like a stained glass ketchup bottle, like a Renaissance style ketchup bottle. Every single one showed a Heinz bottle. And this is a perfect example of how brand equity becomes extremely important in the age of AI. And this is perfect leverage of showing and reaffirming to consumers that this is the case. So this is a huge pain point for new brands, is how do you combat against 150-year-old brands, and how do you achieve that equity? So I think there it becomes a matter of taste and understanding how can you build your presence online in this age of LLM-based search.
No pun intended saying taste, right? When we're talking about Heinz and Todd Kaplan over there, who again is a veteran of this space, but yet, like all of us, is really leaning into, what are things that are out there. It's also been interesting to see them specifically, not only doing those things like that, but they also just rolled out a new packaging piece with their fries where they have this little pop out for ketchup. And they're using that as a viral social moment as well. And again, it's one of those lean in moments where you're like, why didn't somebody else do this before? They're utilizing old school things like packaging and then packaging those literally into these viral moments. You brought up something interesting, Manuel, which is going to bring us to kind of the next question, which is, hey, that's me. And so I will tell you, you're not necessarily the first guest that's ever had AI in their title, but you are the first guest that we have had on here that has Director of Growth and AI in their title. So that was interesting to kind of see. Tell people a little bit more about who you are, what you do, and why you do it.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, as the title alludes to, I work within growth and AI, but my real job is helping brands reach discovery in a world where kind of the concept of discovery is collapsing. Attention is hyperinflated. You have, instead of social media, these Instagram, Meta, everything is turning into a content engine. And in this day and age, with this hyperinflation of brand, the only real moat that you have left is exactly that, is brand. How do you get people to resonate, to build a community off of these products or these different services that are offered as a company. So my work really centers around working with our clients, helping them solve this question and also build and leverage new AI tools and consolidating data silos and understanding where they stand in terms of brand equity.
You've got a lot of hair for working at an agency called Bald. We'll just leave it at that. Lauren, same question. Talk to us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and why you're doing it.
I've been a CMO for the last 10 years. I've been on a 6 month, I call power pause, where I've been doing a lot of advisory work and also just learning AI and filling it in with some fun life hobbies like gardening and pickleball and just taking time to recharge my batteries. But it's been just a really incredible time as I reflect back on the last couple of months and how quickly the space is evolving. Manuel, a lot of the things that you're saying are the things that I felt I did not understand as a marketer well at all when I left Peloton, that I wanted to spend time to make sure I understood more around how the models work, how do brands need to be thinking about discoverability, because I think what's happening is the conversation was almost exclusively, in my opinion, for the last 2 years about efficiency, and we're finally starting to pivot to have conversations about discoverability. And although your example around Heinz definitely resonates, and the fact that they have so much brand equity built into their legacy, I also think it's an interesting time because I do think LLMs will make it easier for just some of the newer players to figure out how to scale in a world that's not only dominated by search. So I'm really excited about that. So yeah, I've been spending the last couple of months meeting so many founders, CEOs, doing advisory work. I just joined the board of Adora, which is an incredible AI startup, and I am getting ready to go back into a full-time operating role. And I feel like I'm going back into that role with a much stronger foundation on not just how to use AI tools on workflows, but what AI means for brands and how to drive discoverability.
It's kind of a blessing, really, in some ways. This is all changing so fast. Again, Steven's already been well ahead of this on my side, but you get this little break, Lauren, and you get to recharge your batteries, to your point, but you also get some quiet space to be able to kind of clean your brain out a little bit of the chaos that I've got 40 emails. Now I got 60. Now I got 80. Now I got 120. Now the CEO's calling me. Now I got to do this. Now I got this agency that we just used and the work wasn't what I thought. You've got this quiet space that you can really kind of dig in, take your experience to be able to lean into, I want to learn this, and be able to then also start to realize, oh, these tools are all different. They're all called AI, but Perplexity does this, and Gemini's better at that, and Chat's really smart, but can't draw things for shit. Like, it's been so interesting. That little break, I think, for lots of us between December 7th and January 7th, or coming back from CES, for a lot of us was just that, like, let me get in here. Let me open this as my Christmas present and kind of figure that out. Speaking of Christmas, I did not get a Christmas present from you, Stephen Moy. You still owe me something.
I know you've been
along the way,
hiding in Florida.
In Florida, because it's too damn cold. It's too damn cold in New York.
Fighting crime in New York City.
Fighting crime. Next question is yours, Stephen.
Yeah, totally. I want to talk about ChatGPT and advertising spend, right? They're going to start selling ads, right? We all know traditionally the four major platforms outside of China is like Google, right? You got the search and you got the YouTube of the world, and then your Meta, which is like Facebook and Instagram, and then the third is Amazon, and then the fourth, TikTok. Now we have the fifth, ChatGPT. How should people plan for it? Is it a real true new platform, like new interface? I'm curious. Let's start with Lauren. Again, from a CMO perspective, how are you going to allocate your marketing spend now?
It's a great question. And I'm a fan of always testing new platforms. I think CMOs have a few jobs, but one is to be in every platform and also to test and learn in these platforms. So it'll be interesting to see. I think one of the biggest challenges with new ad platforms is the measurement typically. And when they first get started, the ability to understand how ads are performing in that platform versus platforms that you understand better. So I would definitely be interested in testing it. I also think it'll be similar to figuring out the right balance between organic and paid, and how do you think about having a really strong presence and getting cited organically versus just paying for discoverability. So I'm excited to see where that lands. I definitely will be wanting to test that and applying that same kind of just experimentation framework that I've done in the past when we see new channels emerge.
Love it and hate it, right? We love it because it's the business that we're in. We hate it because I'm like, oh, damn, here come the ads.
Keeps you on your toes. The job is never boring. I will say
that's
that.
true.
Well, I mean, like, right? Like, Digiday estimated like 20% of Walmart.com traffic come from AI. Like, I can see if I were Walmart, well, let's double down on ChatGPT, and then you can compete with Amazon side of the house. Manuel, what's your take on the ChatGPT start selling ads?
I'm really excited, actually. My background is in performance marketing, so I have a lot of experience scaling revenue and also brand equity through paid media. And I think a lot of the benefits of ads in ChatGPT is going to come from actual positive attributes to when it comes to like long tail based search. A lot of this is tied to what updates, what variables is ChatGPT going to be using to insert an ad into a response. And there was actually an update recently that was written about called the entity update, where instead of keywords and you're looking at things from a keyword perspective, it's looking at things from an entity perspective. So meaning a person, a brand, a company, a product, a concept even. So these are more long tail ideas. So instead of asking like what pages mention, AI marketing agency, the system now asks who is Bald as an agency, for example. What does Bald agency do? What topics is Bald? What authority do they have on certain topics? And how often is it referenced across the web? So this is a huge shift in what SEO traditionally was, which was ranking pages, keyword optimization. It rewarded volume, backlinks, where entity-based discovery is basically ranking credibility, relationships, consistency, clarity. So this is a huge difference in strategy and in the paid media sphere, things that can be leveraged and actually benefit the user. Someone searching for either a new product, it's something that's helpful in the way of like, okay, if I'm searching for new sunscreen, it's going to acknowledge the credibility, the authority that one sunscreen may have over the other. And that as a consumer is news to my ears. I love the idea of all these different elements factored into my search for a product.
It will be interesting to see how paid ads then seep into that, right? Because the joy of this discovery, I think for all of us, is it feels a little like an agent, right? That's kind of recommending a place to stay. Does it become what happened to the travel industry, which is ultimately they start recommending only the ones that are paying them an additional fee through the back door? And do we start seeing some of that skew happen that way? Of course, what role does politics play in any of this conversation and everything else? And really, kind of at the end of the day, this is still a people business. We can add in all these elements that we want, but people still want to do business with people and brands they know, they like, they trust. And so how does that, come into play with everything else?
Well, it's true, right? I work with a lot of travel clients right now, like a lot of hypothesis, like the doomsday coming. Is ChatGPT becoming the new OTA, right? The Expedia, right? Basically cutting across that category is very interesting. I mean, for that.
I agree. I actually worked in the travel industry for 3 years as a fractional marketing manager, and then also at Bald, we work with a number of travel clients. And it's something to acknowledge is this idea of a concept to borrow from McLuhan, like Marshall McLuhan, the media theorist. This idea of the global village, where basically opinion is homogenized. And it's unfortunately AI has this tendency to reinforce a lot of that.
Well, Laura knows a secret. She knows where she's headed to next, and she's not telling us. So it'll be interesting to see where some of this conversation goes. And in a couple of weeks, when the beans get spilled, we'll be like, oh, well, of course, that's where you were headed next. Laura, I won't make you say it, but I will give you the last question. This is our keynote. Small spin on the last question that we typically ask. I've made a small adjustment to it, which is just you're in charge of selecting the keynote for a big industry event like possible this year. You could pick anybody you want who's with us or no longer alive. Who would you pick to keynote one of our tentpole events this year, and why? Lauren, you first.
This is an interesting question, so thank you for asking it. And I think what I would love to see, to be honest, is a debate. I would love to bring back like a Socrates to debate Sam Altman and talk about just the implications of AI in society and humanity, and just really hear that play out. I think that would be super fascinating for everybody.
It's thinking of like what was going on during William Shakespeare's time. We're all the people outside the theater going like, He's a bad dude though. Like, he didn't tip at the ale house the other night. So I don't know. Everything new is old again, I guess. Manuel, same question for you. You're in charge of selecting the keynote, big industry tentpole event like possible. Who are you going to pick and why?
I would pick not necessarily considered a formal marketer, but I'm sure you're familiar with Lee Iacocca.
Sure.
Yeah, the former CEO of Ford, not obviously not a marketer by trade, but someone who made a lot of smart marketing decisions. He was part of the development of the Ford Mustang. He acknowledged the gap in the market for youths to want something like the Mustang, and then also part of the team that developed the minivan, which is the ultimate utility vehicle. Even though it's so uncool, it's cool, but he saw that gap in the market, and I think the thinking that he had in that age was revolutionary in acknowledging this gap and then immediately developing a product for it. I think it would be interesting to hear from him.
The AI guy picks Lee Iacocca. I can't read this room. I need to know what podcasts or books
What's going
you're
on?
reading over there, man. Well, what is going on? My mind is blown. Well, listen, on behalf of myself, as always, Stephen Moy, we want to thank our guests, Lauren Weinberg and Manuel Sanchez Palacios. Thank you guys all so much for joining us on this episode of The Digital Fix. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for listening to The Digital Fix, digital marketing done right. This season is presented by Mio Marketplace. Mio, the marketer's matchmaker. If you're a brand marketer or an agency, media, or platform that works with them, Mio is a marketplace built just for you. Visit them at miomarketplace.com. And by Moy & Halter, a strategic consultancy. If you're struggling with getting your creative and content to efficiently work with your media strategy, we help solve for that, typically in 30 days or less. Reach out for a free consultation today at moyandhalter.com.